X. We're live on X! Yay! YouTube's slower. Boo! Okay, we're live on both. Hi, BK!
Hi! I'm
You ready?
excited.
Yeah, it's another Bible
Yes.
study. We'll see how this dumb bunny interprets Genesis chapter 4. So we're going to cover
I've been
that.
waiting for this
Yes, this is the
all
story
weekend.
of really cool. We're
Yeah.
doing the story of Cain and Abel, and since it's a Bible study, I actually have a study version of this Bible, so I'll be reading notes like I did last time. And hopefully we'll learn cool things, because last time we learned that, Adam had not just his rib bone taken out, but all the meat and flesh and all that stuff just, like, carved out of him. Which is crazy. Dude had a big hole in his rib cage.
Yes.
And I didn't know that as a kid, because I'm dumb.
We're not done, but we're done. We're done.
I'm ignorant, okay? I'm ignorant. But yeah. Today we will be doing Cain and Abel, Genesis chapter 4. I also included the words out of the verses of the Bible in case people like to read along. Because I don't know how closed captioning works on these programs. I'm clueless. But we shall get started. It'll be cool, I hope.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. Let's do this.
We shall do it. We'll read verses 1 through 6 to start. There's some notes on verse 3 that we'll cover after I finish verse 6.
Okay.
So, reading the actual verses, Adam made love to his wife Eve, ooh la la, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, "With the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man." That's very dramatic. Later she gave birth to his brother Abel. Now Abel kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering. But on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Oh, how about we stop there, because it looks like a conversation is upcoming. So we'll stop at verse 5. We'll cover why it is important that the fruits of the soil be described. So my study Bible says there is intrinsically, wow, I can say this word if I don't read it. Intrinsically, whatever. No problem with Cain bringing produce as a gift to God. The Hebrew word used for sacrifice, minha, is one that describes the kind of offering outlined in Leviticus 2, which is normally something other than an animal sacrifice. It was likewise common throughout the rest of the ancient world to offer food offerings from what was grown. Genesis does not record God asking for these sacrifices, though he approved of the practice as a means of expressing thanks. Gratitude would not be expressed when the gift is given grudgingly, as was possibly the case with Cain. See Hebrews 11, verse 4, which contrasts with Abel's sacrifice offered in faith with Cain's gift. Huh. Alright. So, there could have been an attitude problem, is what it's saying, when Cain made his offering, but we don't know.
Yeah.
So that part wasn't really explained, but it could have been an attitude issue. Interesting. Alright, so We have notes on verse 7, notes on verse 12 and 14. I'll just read whatever seems to be like a good segment, and then we'll go back over those notes.
Sounds good to me.
Alright. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother and killed him. Oh. Then that was a very quick progression from being brothers, born brothers, and then murder.
Yeah. It's like he was grumpy and then now dead.
Yeah. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I don't know," he replied. "Am I my brother's keeper?" The Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops to you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." But the Lord said to him, "Not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain, so that no one who found him would kill him. So Cain went out from the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. How about we pause it there, because it looks like he's going to start a family line.
Okay.
So going back, and I'll scroll back up so that we could see the referenced verses. So going back, the Study Bible wants to explain what sin is crouching at your door from verse 7 means. Recent commentators have preferred seeing the participle crouching, Hebrew word robes, I guess. It looks like robes. Robes. As a reference to a well-known Mesopotamian demon called Rabisu, who lingers around doorways. Sin
What?
is... Yeah. So watch out for anything called Rabisu.
Yeah.
That's the Mesopotamian demon. Sin is then portrayed as a doorway demon, waiting for its victim to cross the threshold. From the old Babylonian period on in Mesopotamia, such demons were considered evil and were thought to ambush their victims. And that's in reference to verse 7. If you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door.
Wild.
Yes. And then we did get to verse 12. This was explaining what wanderer means in verse 12. So he will be a restless wanderer on the earth. In Mesopotamian thinking, the ideal lifestyle is urban. Civilized life in the city is the gift of the gods and highly valued. Agricultural and pastoral activities are part of the urban landscape and are foundational to the success of the city. In this way of thinking, nomadic groups are considered uncivilized and a threat to society. The motif of the wild man living out in the steppe country among the animals is represented by Enkidu in the Gilgamesh epic and is an archetype for these despised and feared people. An interesting contrast here in Genesis is that the categories are set up differently. As in Mesopotamia, Cain's status as a wanderer marks him as undesirable. But this wandering is in contrast to being a farmer rather than to being a city dweller. In fact, it is within his line that the arts of civilization are developed. Ew. So this is explaining that Cain's children are part of the civilization crowd, and I guess Abel's children will be part of the farming crowd. That's kind of interesting.
Mhm.
And then it
Yeah.
says there's something to read about. TV 1720. Oh, I guess we'll read it later. But anyway, so Cain is father of civilization as opposed to, I guess, like Gilgamesh, because Enkidu was from the uncivilized background and he had to be civilized, so that's interesting. Where do we leave off? We left off with Cain. So yeah, Cain went out
You.
from the Lord's... Huh?
Yeah.
No feedback?
No, I was just gonna say you said where did we leave off, but you found it.
Yes. So Cain went out from the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain made love to his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Cain was then building a city, and he named it after his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, or is it Irad? I don't know. And Irad was the father of, oh my goodness, I am sorry if I really butcher these. Mehujael,
That's fine.
Mehujael, and Mehujael was the father of Methus. I want to say Methuselah, but that's spelled different, so that's probably something else. Methushael, and Methushael was the father of Lamech. Lamech married two. How many generations did we just cover? So Cain to Enoch.
Then Enoch to Irad.
Irad to Mehujael, and then Methushael, so that's 4, and then to Lamech. So that's 5 generations down.
So 5 generations down, he married 2 women.
Yes.
Lamech
So Lamech
did.
married 2 women, one named Ada and the other named Zillah. Oh my goodness. This is a lot to cover. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who live in tents and raise livestock. His brother's name was... Okay, there was Jabal, and then his brother was Jubal. He was the father of all who played string instruments and pipes. And who's Zillah again? Okay.
Zillah is the son of...
No, Zillah's the other wife.
Oh, the other wife. Okay.
So Ada gave birth to
also
2 sons, Jabal and Jubal, and then Zillah, the second wife, also had a son, Tubal-Cain. He forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. And I'm wondering if I should go back and read some of this stuff before we get too far in this lineage.
Yes, please.
This is getting confusing. Holy cow, why did they have to do a full family tree right there? Alright. So up to verse 22. We did the Wanderer. Oh, there was also verse 14. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I am just all over the place. This is hard to keep up with. So verse 14. When Cain lamented about whoever would find him would kill him, the Study Bible explains, blood feuding between clans is not a foreign concept. In the ancient world, it was typically the business of the clan to avenge the dead one, or the death of one of its members. The concept is represented in biblical law, such as the cities of refuge and the avenger of blood, which we'll find in... Which book is that? I don't... I need to look at the index. I need to find the index. Help,
I could say
BK.
we'll find it later.
Okay, we'll find it later. I'm sorry. I don't know this. As well as in the ancient Near East, Cain's comment assumes that Abel has an extended family who might seek revenge. The mark that is placed on him in verse 15 by the Lord is explained. The Hebrew word does not indicate a tattoo or mutilation, but rather a mark of divine protection similar to that placed on the foreheads of innocents in Ezekiel. It may be an external marking to serve as an indicator to others, or it might represent a sign from God to Cain that he will not be harmed. So it is a divine mark, not necessarily a physical one. And then to explain verse 17, where
Are you gonna explain where he made love to his wife? What?
I hope not. I mean, I think we're supposed to know what that means. They made a baby.
They
Building
made
a
a
city.
baby.
So, building a city is an explanation here. According to
Okay.
Mesopotamian tradition, the first city built was Eridu, remarkably similar to the name Irad. Oh, so maybe it's Irad. So Eridu is in Mesopotamian tradition as the first city, but in the Bible it's Irad. Within, or Enoch, I don't know. I'm getting confused again. This is too much. Within this tradition, city building was a divine enterprise. And this is the Mesopotamian tradition specifically. It was an enterprise related to and part of creation, since creation involved establishment of the world as they knew it, not only in the term of the physical cosmos, but also in the civilized aspect of the social and economic world. In contrast, Genesis sees city building in purely human terms. Well, that's interesting. Then the next section that the study Bible covers is verse 20, where it talks about living in tents and raising livestock. This describes the pastoralist who had kept herds and flocks moving to a variety of water sources and grazing lands. This refers not to an achievement such as domestication, but to a lifestyle. Just as Mesopotamians believed cities and kingship to have originated with the gods, so did pastoralism, agriculture, and other lifestyles. In contrast, Genesis sees them as human developments. So that is interesting. And then it goes to next explanation will cover verse 26. So I guess we can move on and probably just, yeah, verse 26 is the last of this chapter. So we'll move on. Alright, so we know about the second wife having the son, Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. Lamech said to his wife, so he is the father of Tubal-Cain, who married these two ladies, Adah and Zillah, listen to me, wives of Lamech, hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for injuring me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. Okay, I guess we'll figure that out. Verse 25, Adam made love to his wife again, and she gave birth to a son and named him Seth, saying, God has granted me another child in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. Seth also had a son, and he named him Enosh. At that time, people began to call on the name of the Lord. So, okay, just looking purely at these verses, it sounds like what is this now? 6 generations down. Adam has another kid who's in the same generation as Lamech's kids. So these people are like living super long, unless they like reach
Yeah.
maturity sooner than us. But assuming that they aged at the same rate as us, that's like at least mid-teens before you hit puberty and all that. So, I mean, if they started early, it'd be like 15 years apart per generation. If like everybody was really starting early, times
Yeah.
6. Hold on, I need a calculator. I can't do this math in my head.
You can do it.
No, I can't. So, Adam and Eve would at least be 90 years old if we assume that everybody's 15. You know, if the kids were 15 at the time of having more kids.
Mm-hmm.
So these people would be almost in their first century. If they started later, then they'd be, you know, older than a century old at this point. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess we'll cover the last note about this. Actually, there are a couple of notes. The last 2 notes about this chapter. On verse 26 of chapter 4, it explains calling on the name of the Lord. It says, just as there's no implication that only Cain's line had cities and the arts of civilization, so the text does not imply that only the line of Seth called on the name of the Lord. About a dozen times in the Old Testament, people are said to call on the name of the Lord, generally calling for help in connection with a ritual or invoking God's presence at a cultic site. Eventually, humans sought to procure the presence of God through establishing cultic practices and performing rituals there, but here there is no indication of these trappings. Thus it seems that people began to invoke the Lord's presence, the presence that was lost at the fall. This verse then represents the beginning of religion. And then there's a big section that explains the name of God. The personal name Yahweh, which the NIV translation usually chooses Lord, is used frequently throughout Genesis. The patriarchs address God by that name, and God identifies himself by that name. But a problem surfaces in Exodus. At the burning bush, Moses asks what name he should give for the God who is sending him, even though God had already identified himself as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The name Yahweh, or NIV's version, which is Lord, is introduced, and it seems to some interpreters that God is giving a new name not previously revealed. The situation is made more confusing in Exodus, where God says to Moses, I am the Lord, or Yahweh. I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob as God Almighty, El Shaddai. But my name is the Lord, or Yahweh. I did not make myself fully known to them. Verses such as these have led some to postulate that the occurrence of Yahweh in the patriarchal narratives is simply the work of the editor of Genesis, showing the continuity between the patriarchs and later Israel. The fact that Genesis takes its final form no earlier than the time of Moses has allowed some conservative scholars to be content with viewing the references to Yahweh in the patriarchal narratives as purposeful intrusion. To them, the name of Yahweh was added in appropriate places to affirm that the patriarchs really did worship the same God as the Israelites, though they called him by a different name. This may be acceptable in some cases, but it does not explain the passages in which God is represented as identifying himself as Yahweh. In Exodus, Moses is not looking to fill an information gap concerning God's identity, but rather is asking which previously known epithet is the most appropriate to use. In Exodus, God explains that the epithet Yahweh, or Lord, is the appropriate one. In Exodus, God explains that El Shaddai, which NIV translates to God Almighty, was the epithet most appropriately connected with how God interacted with the patriarchs and what he accomplished for them. They did not experience firsthand the significance of the epithet Yahweh, which was connected to the longer-term promises of God, specifically the land. In other words, it is not that the patriarchs were ignorant of the name Yahweh, but the epithet El Shaddai was appropriate for the aspects of the covenant they experienced. The name Yahweh was one of many epithets they used to refer to their God, but it was not the primary one in their usage or understanding. So that's kind of interesting how the title, it's almost like a title, but I guess it's a name, changes
Yeah.
depending on, like, I guess the active role God's taking at that time.
Very interesting.
Yes. The next chapter says it covers from Adam to Noah, so I'm guessing we're going to be seeing a few more generations pop out. You want to cover that?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to try it. So we're moving
We
on
have
to...
to. We gotta go in order.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know if you needed a break after trying to cover freaking 6 generations of humans
Oh.
popping out.
No. This is fun.
Alright. So now we're moving on to chapter 5. I'll cover the notes. Apparently it talks about the genealogies, and I have a feeling that this is going to be crazy. At least hard to follow. So the notes on genealogies. Mesopotamian genealogies are mostly royal, mostly linear, as in one line of descent, as opposed to segmented, or containing more than one line of descent. So instead of a tree, we're just following one primary branch, I guess. And they're rarely more than 3 or 4 generations deep. Fluidity occurs primarily in telescoping, which means eliminating names, though some rearrangement of the order of the ancestors may be detected in the king lists. Egyptian sources, mostly from the Persian and Hellenistic periods, preserved long linear genealogies, sometimes extending 15 to 20 generations, often connecting to priestly lines. Fluidity is also evident only in telescoping within these genealogies. Comparing biblical genealogies to another one shows that often several generations are skipped. Thus, a genealogy's purpose is apparently not to represent every generation as our modern family trees attempt to do. Genealogies represent continuity and relationship and are often used for purposes of power and prestige. Genealogies are sometimes formatted to suit a literary purpose. Thus, the genealogies between Adam and Noah and Abraham are each set up to contain 10 members with the last having 3 sons. If the long lives in the antediluvian world, around Methuselah having 969 years, wow, old dude, seem amazing to us, we will be utterly astounded by the length of reign accredited to antediluvian kings in the Sumerian king list. Wow. So Alulim lived for 28,800 years. Alalgar lived for 36,000 years. Enmenluana lived for 43,200 years. Enmengalana lived for 28,800 years. Dumuzi lived for 36,000 years. Ensipaziana lived for 28,800 years. Enmedirana lived for 21,000 years. And Ubertutu lived for 18,600 years. 8 kings compile 241,200 years between them. The Sumerian king list uses the standard Sumerian sexagesimal system. If the notation is read with decimal values rather than sexagesimal values, the numbers are in the same range as the biblical numbers, and the totals of the lists are nearly identical. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
They're freaking elves back in the day.
I guess.
Alright, so you ready to tackle this? Oh my gosh, how many thousands of years are these people supposed to cover?
Yeah, so let's do it.
Okay, so I don't
I'm
know,
here
maybe
to
I'll just...
study.
There's not too
I
many
want to
notes.
learn.
Yeah. There aren't too many notes, so other than that whole explanation of the genealogy, so I'll just read the whole chapter and then we'll cover the one note for chapter 5 after that.
Okay.
So, from Adam to Noah. This is the written account of Adam's family line. When God created mankind, he made them in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them. And he named them mankind when they were created. Thank you. When Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, and he named him Seth. Oh, see? So they didn't all start having kids at 15.
Thank goodness. Okay.
Yeah!
Wow.
Good to know.
I was a little worried. Okay, so
I was like making the assumption of the tightest like generational gap in order to be like at the earliest age that he could possibly be.
Yeah. Yes.
So 130 years old when his third son, in his own likeness, in his own image, and he named him Seth. After Seth was born, Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Holy cow.
That's so wild.
Yeah. So did they all still live at home? And was like, hey, Dad, I see you're 800 years old. I'm 500. Like, what? Maybe. I don't know.
They had some powerful trinkets, I guess, back then.
Or maybe they just didn't eat microplastics like we do today and lived longer.
Yeah, I was gonna say they didn't have GMOs.
They had the OG food. Lived nice, long, healthy lives. And I mean, by the time you hit 30, you start having aches and pains these days. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. So Adam was 800 years old, had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Adam lived a total of 930 years, and then he died. Then when Seth had lived 105 years, he became the father of Enosh. Jeez. Can you imagine a 105-year-old man today having a kid? Kid sit on his lap and his leg would break.
I can't even imagine living as long as Adam did, so yeah, it's just wild.
Yeah. After he became the father of Enosh, Seth lived 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Seth lived a total of 912 years, and then he died. When Enosh had lived 90 years, he became the father of Cain. After he became the father of Cain, Enosh lived 15 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enosh lived a total of 905 years and then he died. Wait, each one's living less than the previous. What the heck? When Kenan had lived 70 years, he became the father of Mahalalel. Mahalalel. Oh, look at this
Halal.
one. Yeah, look at him though. Like he's ripe young age is 70 when he became the father of this guy.
Yeah.
Though I don't know if that's actually the firstborn because the genealogy thing said they ignored other kids, just focused on certain people. So it might not have been the firstborn. After he became the father of Mahalalel, Kenan lived 840 years and had other sons and daughters. Okay, maybe he was firstborn. Altogether, Kenan lived a total of 910 years and then he died. Okay. Get my mouse in the right spot. We did Mahalel.
We're at 15.
Wait, verse 15?
When-
Oh, yeah,
it says
yeah.
when
Look at this sprightly.
Yeah.
When Mahalalel had lived 65 years. Oh, man, we're getting like spring chicks now. He became the father of Jared. After he became the father of Jared, Mahalalel lived 830 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Mahalalel lived a total of 895 years and then he died. Then we're going to look at Jared. Wait, what if I use arrow keys? Oh, that's easier. Okay. When Jared had lived 162 years, he became the father of Enoch. After he became the father of Enoch, Jared lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Jared lived a total of 962 years, so he lived a better, more healthy life, and then he died. Almost 100 years more than his daddy. When Enoch had lived 65 years, another young, sprightly boy, he became the father of Methuselah. After he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked faithfully with God 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enoch lived a total of 365 years. Enoch walked faithfully with God, then he was no more because God took him away. So we don't know what happened to him, but he just kind of disappeared.
Yeah. In the study notes, is it going to touch on that, do you think? Because I'm curious what happened
I don't
there.
know yet. We will look. The study notes.
God took him.
Yeah.
It's just the only one that it says that, so I'm curious.
Okay, yeah, the study notes are for that particular verse. We'll come back to it because this is kind of hard to keep up with. There's too many.
Right, yeah.
Too many people. Okay, so God took him away. We'll come back to that. When Methuselah had lived 187 years, he was a late bloomer. He became the father of Lamech. After he became the father of Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Methuselah lived a total of 969 years, and then he died. When Lamech had lived 182 years, he had a son, also a late bloomer. He named him Noah and said, "He will comfort us in the labor and painful toil of our hands caused by the ground the Lord has cursed." Okay. After Noah was born, Lamech lived 595 years, had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Lamech lived a total of 777 years. He was the youngest to die. And then he died. Then after Noah was 500 years old, he became the father. Wow, he was a really late bloomer. He became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, or Japheth. I don't know how you say that. So, now we have the full lineage between, Adam and Noah? Yeah, That's what this chapter is about. Man, Noah was a real late bloomer. Wait until he was 500. Alright, so to touch on Enoch walking faithfully with God, then he was no more because God took him away. The idea of humans being taken to heaven is known in the ancient world outside of the Bible, but not in the way that would develop in Christian theology. First is the example of Utu Abzu, the seventh of the renowned sages, just as Enoch is the seventh from Adam. Yes. Second are the characters such as Etana and Adapa, who both ascend to heaven under different circumstances. Notable is the fact that their ascensions are passing experiences rather than changes in status, and therefore are not in the same category as Enoch. As a further observation, we should note that Genesis does not indicate where Enoch was taken, so we should not necessarily assume ascension to heaven. Oh my goodness. Utnapishtim, who is the survivor of the flood in the Gilgamesh epic, was a favorite of the gods, and was also taken, so that he did not experience death. But he was taken neither to heaven nor to the netherworld, but to a faraway and inaccessible place, at the mouth of the rivers, according to the epic. None of these offer transparent explanation of Enoch's experience, but they show a variety of possibilities to be considered that otherwise would not be recognized. As a result of his piety, such as walking with God, Enoch was taken, as an alternative to dying, the stated fate of all others in the genealogy. So, we finished chapter 5. I don't know if you want to keep it to like 2 chapters, or if you want... oh, goodness. So, chapter 6 says it's about wickedness in the world, and then that's like a paragraph, and then it gets into the big arc of Noah and the flood, which goes from middle of chapter 6 through 7, 8. Oh, and there's lots of notes.
And you still need to read the infos on why God took him away and all of that.
I just did that.
So maybe... well, I mean, not that. I mean, you still need to read the infos if we read...
oh, yeah. The next chapter.
Yeah. Right, like, maybe... what'd you say it was? The... before Noah, what is it? You said it's about a paragraph?
Yeah, there's about a paragraph that's the wickedness in the world. So I guess like the prequel to the big flood.
So let's read that and then read the study on that and leave it there.
Okay.
And save the big flood for tomorrow?
Yeah. Big flood for next section, because Big Flood is the second half of chapter 6 through all of chapter 8. That's going to be like 2.5 chapters.
Yeah.
Alright.
Should be its own section.
So I guess we get like the credits at the end of a movie, like a Marvel movie, where we get to see something leading up to the big event. So we will move on to chapter 6, but only the first part. Wickedness in the world! I think what I'll do, I'll just read the whole section, then we'll go back and cover the notes.
Sounds good.
So, chapter 6, verse 1, when human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. Guess we'll learn about that. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. Okay, so this sounds like the sons of God are not necessarily other humans. They seem to be two distinct things here.
Yeah, maybe those are angels?
I guess. We'll see what it says. They were heroes of old, men of renown. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I had made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So apparently, God did something that he didn't feel great about. It's not something that's normally taught. Alright, so that's up through verse 8. So let's look at the chapter 6 explanations. See if there's any giant section I need to cover too. No. Alright. So sons of God, yay. We're getting the explanation of what these sons of God are. First mentioned in verse 2. Royal titles of the ancient Near East regularly suggested the divine descent of kings, even outside Egypt's context of deified kings. This idea of divine descent was a rhetorical expression of the divine election and legitimization of the king, and is typical in royal inscriptions. Throughout the biblical period, it was part of the royal prerogative to claim divine heritage. Thus, the title Son of God can be identified as a royal motif both in the Bible and outside of it. Gilgamesh is portrayed as 2/3 God and 1/3 man. And flesh of the gods, as quoted from the Gilgamesh epic. Oh, that was a period. So 2/3 God, 1/3 man, and flesh of the gods. Nevertheless, though it is common for kings to be portrayed as having divine parentage, there's no precedent for ancient kings as a group being referred to as sons of God. This keeps open the possibility that this title could refer to royal elites, though a reference to members of the heavenly council certainly cannot be ruled out. To explain married any of them they chose. There are no examples from Akkadian or Northwest Semitic mythological texts of divine beings marrying or cohabitating with human women. So it would be difficult to make the claim, as some do, that this account is a vestige of ancient mythology. There are examples of kings claiming mixed ancestry of gods and humans. But that is a different concept.
I knew
it! I think this is trying to say that it might not be, but we do watch Free the Rabbit, so he says yes, that this is the interbreeding of non-human entities, beings, with humans for creating Nephilim. So if the sons of God are viewed as kings, the question remains as to what offense they are committing here. Polygamy has always been a weak candidate since the Old Testament does not condemn it. Promiscuity is likewise an unlikely explanation since the Hebrew text describes the situation using the standard idiom for marriage, where they said taking wives. An alternate understanding may be found in the practice noted in the Gilgamesh epic as the prime example of Gilgamesh's tyranny, namely his exercising the right of the first night with a new bride. He will couple with the wife-to-be. He, first of all, the bridegroom after. Holy cow. So he's like taking the virginity of people before the husbands get to. Okay. This practice accommodates the marriage terminology, and in Gilgamesh, it is clearly both oppressive and offensive behavior. Yeah, you don't even know if your first kid's actually yours. The remaining problem is that this practice is infrequently attested in ancient literature. Nonetheless, in the Gilgamesh epic, it is clear. So, then the next note is about verse 3, the 120 years reference. A Sumerian folktale speaks of 120 years as an ideal human lifespan. Speculation suggests that this number derives not from observation, but from abstraction within the Sumerian mathematical system. It is clearly not a fixed boundary, as a woman who died in 1997 lived for 122 years. The idea that deity-governed lifespan is reflected in Mesopotamia in the Gilgamesh epic as the hero continues his quest for immortality. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the god Thoth reports to the creator god Atum, "Ye shall not witness wrongdoing, ye shall not suffer it. Shorten their years, cut short their mouths, because they have done hidden damage to all that ye have made." This is the same Atum who in the beginning floated in Nun, the primeval ocean. In this way, the first two references to the Spirit of God in Genesis both have parallels to the role of Atum in Egyptian texts. One key difference is that Atum is identified as the creator god in the Egyptian texts, while in Genesis, God, or Elohim, and not the Spirit of God, Ruah Elohim, is the creator. Ooh, we get to discover Nephilim! Nephilim. It's in verse 4. So the Nephilim, they occur only here and in another book that we'll read. I still don't know the abbreviation for it. The text presents them not as the offspring of the union, but as contemporaries. The fact that they are also around after the flood indicates that the label is not ethnic. Analysis of the meaning of the designation has been unsuccessful in identifying this group. The latter part of the verse indicates that they are heroic figures, perhaps of the sort exemplified by Gilgamesh, who is described as possessing heroism, and as being tall, magnificent, and terrible. All from Gilgamesh. He has a 6 cubit, or 9 foot, or 2.7 meter stride, and is 11 cubits, or 16.5 feet, or 5 meters tall. And these are all sourced from the Gilgamesh epics. A more specific interpretation suggests that the Nephilim ought to be identified as ancient sages, the Apkallu. The Apkallu were considered semi-divine. One of their number, Adapa, is called the son of the god Ea. They likewise marry human women, creating mixed classes. After the flood, the sages are considered of human descent and are called the Ummianu. These individuals, unlike their predecessors, are more infamous than famous, although only in general terms, such as they angered Adad. The Apkallu and the Ummianu were indeed heroic figures of old. This made sense in the terminology here. This view is additionally attractive in that in Genesis this section is in close proximity to the account of the flood, which is also recorded in the context of the Apkallu. Though some similarities are evident, the term Nephilim remains unexplained, as does their connection to the inhabitants of the land in New. Oh, sorry, in I think it's Numbers. But anyway, that is the explanation of Nephilim. And that is all the notes on this section before we get into a big story segment about Noah and the flood. Any comments?
All right, that was good. No, it's just fascinating. I can't wait to get there.
Yeah,
What
that
about
one's
you?
gonna be it'll definitely be interesting, especially well, I'm thinking God must have had to pacify a whole bunch of animals for this flood thing, cause I know like the general story is Noah got 2 of every animal and stuffed them in a big boat, and somehow they all survived.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like, I don't know, it's just interesting, like, between the discussion of the Nephilim, uh, the human beings that the Lord made versus, the Nephilim, which, I
And
mean,
sons of
I'm just,
God.
yeah, and the sons of God. I mean, people can really twist the interpretations of this, apparently.
Yeah, I guess because like there's nothing really explicit to give additional context. And
Right.
then I know like there's such thing as something called the Book of Enoch, and like that's really contentious. I don't really understand what it is, why. I know it talks about angels a lot, I think. But
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I
I
guess
guess
it's contentious to people that understand more than we do. Like, we're literally noobs trying to learn.
yeah, we're trying to
And
learn. I don't know how
we're
successful we are.
trying. We're trying. But yeah, so I'd be curious to go back to that later, like after we uh study the Bible and then look at what the Book of Enoch is and why it's so controversial.
Yeah, we might have to look at that eventually too and see what's up with that.
So yeah, this was good. Thank you.
Yay! Hopefully you were. I don't know if entertained is the right word, but and yeah, hopefully it was interesting.
Informing. Yes, I was
Yes.
in. I learned. I
Yeah, you
learned.
learned things.
This, and I think this is also a curve for a lot of people. Like, I bet you there are so many people that just skip right through this because they didn't want to go through the
What?
sons of this person and the sons of that person,
Yeah.
and by the time you might put the Bible down and just skip forward or something like that. So to go over it, I think is important, and I liked it. So
Yeah, 'cause like that was a lot of numbers to go through.
mhm,
Like that it
exactly.
was just a list, and it's so
Yeah, the
dry,
way
but yeah.
it's basically like when putting all the information together into the Bible, they just made a list of everything that happened previous. And as far as uh, the people represented, so it just
Yeah.
makes it difficult to follow if or to focus. It's just
Right,
like one
right.
name,
It's just like
another name.
yeah, this
Yeah,
boring person, nothing a note. This boring person, nothing a note. Just how long they lived, but I guess it's to serve a purpose on how this guy really
lineage and
was, yeah, the lineage of that guy,
mhm,
which is dry.
and right, and how Enoch was God took Enoch. That was interesting. So yeah, it was good. I can't wait for tomorrow when we cover Noah.
Yeah. So we're doing this daily then?
I guess. I don't know. Should we? I mean, the
I don't
Bible
know.
is big. It'll take
Yeah.
us forever if we only do it once a week. It'll take years.
Possibly. I know we're going slower. Like I had the AI generate a syllabus, but we are not going at the pace that is expected.
Yeah, that is true. Well, we're thorough. What can we
Like,
say?
though I don't know. We're only like a day behind, I guess, because part three and what is this? This is our third session. Part three was supposed to be the flood, so eh, maybe we're okay. But it does have
Second,
115
second,
parts.
our
Well, it's our
second.
second stream, but we did chapter
Yeah,
one off stream, and that took forever.
that's true. Okay.
So it's the third
Uh,
study session, but second online, and this thing
right.
predicted 115, which,
Oh,
yeah, like if we
that's
did
a
one a
lot.
week, yeah.
Take forever. So it's really up to you, and I mean,
Alright.
uh, how you want to do it, because you're the one that's actually reciting it or reading it, and yeah, there might be days where you're not feeling up to it. I know you get things that are going on, so it's just up to you. And hopefully, people will discover the videos and find it informative and know that we're just trying to learn.
Yes.
And I don't want people to be insulted by us. I mean, we're just trying to learn. We
I,
don't mean,
I'm dumb. I'm trying, but I'm
yeah,
dumb, so
yeah.
can't
We're
ask too much
noobs.
more of me. Yes. Yes, we are
All
noobs.
right.
We are trying.
Yeah. So it's up to you about tomorrow. We'll leave it up in the air, but
Okay.
yes, I'm looking forward to the next live stream. Thank you so much, and for any viewers that followed along, thank you. We
Yes,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. We're going to wrap up this session, take a pause. We'll figure out something else to do. So, thanks for sitting through our Bible study with us, any who had the patience. And bye for now.